Everybody, it's Nate Leslie here. I am with Nick Deschenes today, longtime friend of Prep Camp. Nick played in the Alberta Junior Hockey League with Fort Saskatchewan, graduated from Yale University, Ivy League school, followed by a long pro career in the American League, the East Coast League, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, back to Italy, and the Federal League. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm
Uh,
in Canada. I'm in Canada for the record.
That's right. Nick is the head coach of Summerland in the KIJHL and owns and operates All Out Fitness in West Kelowna, a functional fitness facility. And one of the reasons he's been invited to join us today is Nick, simply your commitment to fitness and your own personal care has always really impressed me, and the way you view the big picture as we work with young athletes. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what's going on right now? We're mid-December here, middle of a pandemic, coaching a junior B hockey team, running a gym that at the moment can't take clients. So just fill us in on some of the ways you're making the best of the situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm kind of got a double whammy on both sides. But the hockey side, like I mentioned, we're doing the best that we can. Since this started, the uncertainty has always been on people's minds, whether we operate, whether we don't operate. And, I honestly, I mean, it's kind of same with the prep camp. I mean, you guys really went out ahead of the curve to get that camp operational this past summer. And because I think, the right hockey people will see the value in being on the ice, training off ice, and trying to maintain as much of a status quo as possible with scheduling. So since September 1, we've been going 5 days a week in the gym, 2 to 3 times a week. We got in our 8 games of preseason, our 3 regular season games before we were recently shut down. But we scaled that back to phase 2. And I can quote a player. We're on the ice today. We're on the ice till the December 18th. And I can quote a player today and asking him, so what do you think? He's like, I think I'm actually gotten a lot better in the last 2 weeks. And I'm like, yeah, we're accomplishing stuff here. And, when you hear coaches or organizations say, we're just going to send the kids home, or, they need a mental break, or they need, I don't. I think they're sugarcoating their lack of eagerness to kind of push through these adverse times. And I think at the end of the day, if you want to advance in this pursuit of call it athletic or academic athletics or whatever, being a student athlete, you have to do more than the other person. You have to rise above the occasion. You have to battle through uncertainty, and where you just have to, if your why is big enough, you'll find a way. And I mean, for me personally, my why is kind of what you read, that laundry list of teams I played for. I met amazing people, traveled the world, and to me it's 1,000% worth it. So I would, in a heartbeat, try to keep these kids active and developing and pursuing their goals. And I mean, I think the same shoe is for you guys with that prep camp in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about the message that you've been sending to the kids about the experience they're getting. Off camera, you compared it to the college experience. Really, just touch on that as a takeaway for parents and kids watching this.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, you have to have. I'm a firm believer in living through experiences and then taking those and shifting those into, either your teaching mechanism or how you coach, right? So I've been fortunate enough to go the NCAA route, and, knowing that timeline, knowing that schedule, we basically structured our preseason developmental season / now this kind of pause season that we're in right now, to reflect that. So we're practicing as much as a college team, and we're in the gym as much as a college team. We're still doing video. We're incorporating book reports. We're incorporating player self-analysis. We're still looking at video. It's not a time to kind of put your feet up, in my opinion. So, and I think when you look at prep camp, what you're really trying to key in on is to look for camps that will have individuals that do have a wide variety of backgrounds and experiences, which I really believe with your guys' concept is you empower the individual that's coming there who has the qualifications to share, even though briefly over that week period, kind of a glimpse into the bigger picture and their better understanding of the nuances of the hockey world, so that you do not only benefit from on ice activities, but also from just general conversations and insight.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you're doing some player self-reflection. What are some of your more mature players who are able to look at the big picture here? What are they learning about themselves as athletes right now?
So we've hit the reset button here in Summerland, and we've kind of brought in a whole new group, minus a few kind of older players that I think kind of have the right mindset, the right kind of approach to being in a leadership position. So what they're learning right now, so say from this whole experience, is how impactful their decisions are, whether that is off the ice by potentially doing something that they're not supposed to, by breaking protocols, by not following protocols while we're in an on-ice environment or in the locker room. We're living in a pandemic, so everything is magnified, and you have to walk the line even that much more. So within the bubble, within the frustration, within the boredom, I think they're learning about themselves and how bad do they want hockey, and are they willing to, say, miss Christmas with family to stay here in order to have that experience? Are they willing to, potentially have to work differently at school to make it work? We practice daytime, so some of the kids have had to shift academic schedules a little bit. So I think for everyone, we're just kind of learning. The stakes are higher because of what's going on around us, but also what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. So I think they're being challenged in a good way. I think life's going to feel a lot easier once we come out of this.
Yeah, there are leagues, the Western League, Tier 2 Junior, that rely heavily on gate money, and obviously that's causing great challenge. The model you guys have right now, and many other Junior B teams have, it's allowing you to continue to train and operate pretty normally, because it's essentially now a user pay to play scenario, right? In a smaller geographic region than some of the other leagues that are pay to play but extremely expensive. So it sounds like it's an opportunity for kids who are looking, for that, for your league to essentially showcase these opportunities that, hey, they're getting a lot out of this despite the fact we're living through a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, every team's had a different approach. Some have operated since September 1. Others teams have waited right till late October. Everyone, and again, the model, it is somewhat of a pay to play, but there are some haves and some have-nots. There are some destination type organizations where they're going to have robust sponsorships and community support within their area. But Summerland, we're kind of nestled between the Penticton Bees, the West Kelowna Warriors. There's a lot going on around us that, unfortunately, and this has become a bit of an advantage, is that the model has always been that the players are paying more of the operational cost than not. And so when all the other halves have had to double their fees in order to cover the season, it's kind of neutralized the recruiting playing field. And Summerland hasn't really missed that much of a beat. Now, am I saying this is a great model? No, I think, as an organization, we have to work harder to provide some financial flexibility for us and our players through working harder away from the rink to generate some more revenue and to get more people in the building. And that's kind of my job, I guess, to try to create an entertaining product and advance these players. But at the end of the day, this compared to other options out there, it's been a pretty solid, I think, experience, but I would argue players have gotten a lot of value out of it.
think let's just switch gears here for a minute. I think one of the reasons you and I enjoy chatting is hockey's played a role in our lives, maybe bigger than the game. It's been, you mentioned getting to see the world. That's what it's done for me as a player. And since then, off camera, you mentioned your Ivy League experience as a step outside of your comfort zone. I think it's great for parents and players watching this to get to know Nick a little bit, because you're a breath of fresh air in the game. Tell me more about that, stepping outside your comfort zone in that Ivy League experience as a player.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It was kind of my career path has always been, I've kind of bucked the trend. I don't think people put a lot of stake in me from where I was at 16 to my goal to get a scholarship. I think a lot of people had, said kind of nice try, go for it, good luck. But no one really thought that would become a reality. So as I kind of climbed the ladder, all of these opportunities started presenting themselves that were even greater than what I'd imagined. So, for example, Yale University, Harvard, Princeton, but then also on the flip side was North Dakota, and all of these like hockey powerhouses. So I kind of had both ends of the spectrum, which is kind of a unique situation to be in. And it just kind of went along the same trend. Like, you know what? Like, I've got myself to be a decent hockey player, but that's not the only thing I'm interested in. That's not what I'm all about. There's also another component here that I might be able to utilize my hockey now to then expand a part of myself that wouldn't otherwise. And that's not to take away from other academic institutions. And likely what I studied in history at Yale is the same history that's at North Dakota, is the same history that's anywhere, because it is what it is. But it was more the environment. It was more the people that you are surrounded by, and like the energy, the vibe, and it seemed like I had to go visit. And ironically, my visit to Yale was basically a vacation, and I had a couple of those wind-up cameras, and I was zipping away and asking the assistant coach to take a picture of me up on the statue there in front of that building. And it was kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you, but I did it. And then I compared flat prairie North Dakota to, hustle and bustle East Coast. And I thought, I've had prairies for 19, 20 years of my life. I think I'm good to put my foot in the Long Island Sound and chart a new path. And I'll tell you, you're on your own. I'm 20 years old, and I'm 1,000 miles away from home, and mom and dad aren't there, and no one's there. And I learned pretty quick that just having a sharp pencil wasn't really a prerequisite for being good and being ready for a class. I mean, syllabuses and pre-reading and all sorts of stuff that, I just wasn't part of my reality. And especially coming out of high school for 3 years. I mean, I was like, the rest was all over. So I'll say my first year wasn't the greatest, but the famous story I tell people is that my first mark at Yale was a D, and my last mark was an A. So again, kind of fill in the rest.
For the record, a boy from Morinville, Alberta, is allowed to bring a flippy camera to his first Ivy League campus tour. That's all right. Forgive yourself for that one, Nick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I want to let people know about your gym and your training and your commitment to fitness too. Was your dedication to your own fitness always there, or is that taken on a new life of its own since you've been done playing?
So I've always trained even as a 5-year-old. My dad had weights. I would sneak in the basement and do that. When I got to about 14, my parents had split up. I was probably out of shape. I wouldn't say I was overweight yet, but I was not on a good path. Worked at a high school cafeteria, so had way too many fries on the side, and just was, lots of things are changing in my life. And I went to Quebec for summer, and my dad's like, here's a gym pass and keep yourself busy because I'm going home and you're with grandma and grandpa. Well, grandma and grandpa aren't going to really do much with me, and they're kind of, at home and retired. And so I hit the gym, and 6 weeks later came home back to Alberta, and everyone couldn't believe what I looked like. And it just started building some confidence within. I started being a better hockey player, just naturally started moving around the ice a bit better, and kept up with the weight training. And, like that to me basically charted a new path, and it opened the doors. And from that point on, I strive to be the best athlete possible. Now, we all have different, we're all given different genetic tools. And me being a bigger player, I had to push myself to be as fast as the smallest player on the ice, or, vice versa. That small player has to push themselves to be the most powerful player they can be, so that they're not, they're not at disadvantage, right? So basically, it's been a driving force throughout. I had fortunate coaches that, set me up with Olympic strength coaches. I had my junior B coach in Morinville sprint the soccer fields with me a couple times a week. Like, it was crazy. You think about all of these things that I sought out and took advantage of them, and I just kept climbing the ladder. And it was so excuse me. So full circle. It's always been a passion. And when I came to West Kelowna 4 years ago, and I wanted to have an impact, I was like, okay. I quickly assessed minor hockey, started coaching bantam, and I said, okay, these kids are not strong enough. They're going to get hurt. They're getting concussions. They're getting broken bones, injuries. Parents paying thousands of dollars, and their kids are sidelined for months because they can't handle the impact. It's basically football on ice. And at 14 years old, if kids haven't prepared their bodies for that, it's just a recipe for disaster. Plus, kids aren't enjoying the game. They're scared. They're not developing because they're not touching the puck. They don't want to be engaged. And that basically, those two came together. And at the time, I left trail. I was in pretty poor health. I would say overweight at the time. You might have seen me not quite at my largest, but I was getting there. And the first time I came to prep camp, and and then from there, it was like, okay, I'm going to lead by example, and I'm going to make myself the healthiest I can be, so that I could actually show these kids and teach them, and they're going to want to listen to me. And it's the same thing with hockey, right? Like I can't. It's hard for me to coach something that I haven't already gone through, and I just couldn't even imagine. Like, I get like the Hitchcocks of the world, but and I really like credit those people that have really gone outside to really study and expand their own. But man, like to live it, to breathe it, to do it, it's such a huge advantage, I think, in coaching.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Nick. I think that's a great place to wrap things up here. So you're doing your work with the gym in West Kelowna, Minor Hockey Association there trusts you to work with a lot of their athletes. You're leading by example with your junior B team. You have adult clients as well in a normal time. What's the best way for anyone watching living in your area, or families interested in your approach to development and to junior B hockey? How would you like people to reach out to you?
What do I have? 3, 4 Instagrams, a couple of emails. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm sure. Like, I'm always happy to help. Plate is pretty full with 25 aspiring junior A hockey players or college hockey players. And yeah, you mentioned adult clients. So I do have a whole bunch of adult clients that are also into competitive fitness and other aspects of their lives that I'm, helping them with, and also these younger athletes too in the West Kelowna area. So I don't know. I think however they can. I mean,
Give us an Instagram handle, or give us one simple way they can find you quickly on the internet.
All right. I think just alloutfitness.ca is probably the easiest one. info@alloutfitness.ca. Instagram, you can search All Out Fitness, search Coach Deschenes. You'll see a few things there. I'm trying to quiet down that part of my life because it's starting to become less productive. And I think the whole pandemic really helped. That quiet period really made me realize you don't need to juggle 4 different things. And, and I think you don't have to, like, this angle that you're taking, you don't have to broadcast to the world every little thing that you do. I think you just have to, do good things and where you are, and people, it will grow.
Right on. Right on. Well, all the best to you, Nick, and hope you finish strong here and that the gym, things get better and the gym gets back open when it's safe to do so. I know you're gonna do what's need to be done as a good Canadian and as someone helping here. So thanks for taking the time for us and wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me.